Life on the road is not for everyone, and everyone lives it differently. This is Interviews with Touring Techs.
Hello, I'm Randy Wilkins, professional guitar tech from Nashville, Tennessee. I have been on the road doing audio for Ricky Skaggs, Forrester Sisters. I've done backline tech for Kurt Whalum, Kool and the Gang, Dionne Warwick, many others. I've also am currently with Travis Tritt as backline tech and stage manager.
How did you get into the biz, and what was your path to techie?
My first job in this business, I guess, I started when I was 16 years old. I was going to high school, and there was a jobs program offered by the government. They pay $2 an hour, 10 hours a week. You go find the job. So I went down to a music store that was in my local area. I'm a guitar player, playing in bands, so it kind of seemed like a logical place to go. The store was great. They said, hey, we get to get a free employee, and when the program was over, I got a job at the store. Doing repairs at the store, I started learning how to tech guitars and other instruments, things exotic like in violins and cellos and drums and basses and other things. I went to school as an audio engineer and took a path as an audio engineer, both studio and live, for probably 20 years, and just realized I really didn't enjoy it as much as I do teching, and so I started putting my name out for various bands looking for techs, and when I finally found a couple of gigs, you know, they were the low-paying gigs, and kind of worked my way up through there, no-name bands, and then got a couple jobs around in Nashville, started working at Soundcheck, a large rehearsal and rental studio business here in town, going out on tour with some of their bands that contracted, Kool and the Gang, Dionne Warwick, and a few others, and just kind of moved my way up in Nashville through that.
Now, I know there's a bit of a stigma about stage techs being washed-up musicians that couldn't hack it. What do you think about that stigma?
You know, there's a lot of techs that don't play an instrument at all. I know a lot of great guitar players that can't tech a guitar either. You know, there's a place at which you realize what are your skill levels? Where are you most comfortable doing? I like to do both. I still play, I still record, I still write music, I still go out on the road. The difference between me and some of the guitar players out there that are in this town is there's a million guitar players in this town. They're all great. There's a handful of great techs in this town. So I have a better chance of having a longer career than a lot of the guitar players in this town or in other towns. And as you know, that, you know, in this music business, the older you get, the more undesirable as a player you are, especially for live. In teching, the more experienced you are, the higher levels you can achieve in production.
What kind of education, self or formal, have you sought out to use being a tech?
Well, my first formal education in the business was going to recording school in California. I spent 2 years recording, and then I opened up my own studio, and basically through that I learned how when people would bring in instruments that weren't quite up to standard, helping them out, teching especially drums, taking apart drums, fixing every rattle and noise. That gave me a real good sense for what it takes to have a good, clean instrument. Other than that, everything else has been self-education, reading, online tutorials, books, any kind of information that I can pick up from other techs. Techs are usually ready to share tips between each other.
Do you play any instruments? If so, for how long have you played?
I've played guitar, drums, bass, and keys. Through that, I'm completely proficient, able to sound check and tech any instrument in a contemporary setting.
Are you married? Do you have any kids?
I am married. I've been married for 18 years. I do not have children. My wife and I are still going strong.
What do you do with your downtime or your home time?
Home time? Man, I spend a lot of time here in my recording studio. I love playing. I love recording. I love writing. I love working with other musicians in this town. Other than that, I love exercising and running and just being outdoors. Again, Nashville's a great place to be outdoors.
What is your favorite day off activity on the road?
If I've got a good day off, if I'm not doing laundry or resting from a long week, I'll find some place in the area to be, again, outdoors. I like to find a path or a trail or some kind of nature setting, and I'll go out. If there's nothing like that, I'll find something else in the area edifying, museums, some place where I can just experience the area.
How do you deal with your diabetes on the road?
Tough. Carrying diabetic medication, I'm type 1, is in itself difficult. It's a medication that has a certain temperature range it likes to live in. It doesn't like to go below freezing, and it doesn't like to go above 90 degrees. It kind of destroys the medication. If that happens, I would have to find some other source, a local pharmacy, or have one mailed to me by my wife, or if any of you are diabetics or any other type of situation where you've got medication, you have to have a support system where that can be delivered to you, either a nationwide pharmacy and your insurance set up to be able to go anywhere, or have a girlfriend or a wife or family member be able to mail you. Now, in my situation, the last ability of my medication on the road is 28 days out of refrigeration. So out of refrigeration, I only have a month on the road. If I had to go out for 4 months to an extended tour, I would have to keep some in refrigeration. This is tough because you're on a bus or you might be on an airplane. If you're on an airplane, you have a real tough time carrying medication that would have to be refrigerated. Buses, generators go down, buses turn off, refrigerators fail. So this is a tough thing to take care of. I generally don't go out for long tours. I go out for 25 to 30 days at the most, and that's just because of the artist I'm with. If I had an offer from a long-term, year-long thing, it would be tough. I'd have to make some really big arrangements to make that happen.
What advice would you give somebody that wants to get into teching to do your job?
Well, you're going to have to start somewhere, and that means at the bottom levels, if you have no experience whatsoever, which would probably be crew hand for a local crew company doing shows in your local area. If you listen and you've got a good aptitude, and do what you're told and show up on time, you'll shine, because it's not hard to shine in a group like that. You move your way up pretty quickly by befriending people. It's a lot of who you know. Like I said, there's a lot of techs out there who are great guitar techs and drum techs who don't play an instrument, who don't play drums, who don't play guitar. You just have to learn your craft. If you want to be a guitar tech, you better start learning something about guitar and teching from whatever sources you can. Books, online tutorials. I know there's some schools on Luthering if you want to pay the money and go to these accredited schools, or some people who like to just teach and have their own accreditations.
What do you love about being a tech?
Boy, there's a lot of good fringe benefits. Both playing or teching, you're getting to tour. For me, going all over the country, seeing things. This year I got to visit Mount Rushmore, first time in my life, Crazy Horse. And seeing things like that, taking 20-mile hikes in Edmonton and walking along the Snake River. And I'm an outdoors kind of guy. I like to run a lot. I ran a bunch this year in some exotic places all over the country, and that's probably one of my favorite things.